Well, we're off to an awesome start, aren't we? Yeah, can you tell I'm a little scrambled here getting going? All right. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. I'm coordinating things here on the fly as we get started. So you have to excuse me. And I had my Zoom on mute earlier. I know we were muted. You can guys can stop sending the stickers now. I know I screwed it up. Now it's loud. All right, let me turn down the gain on my mic a little. How we doing now? Biggest show I've done in forever, and gotta love it. Starting off with a bunch of technical difficulties, but that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and just roll the intro now. I think Cash might be coming on a little earlier than we originally expected him to. So let's just go ahead and play the intro. We'll be back and officially start the show here in a few minutes.
We will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Y'all for tuning in, Patriots United, doing what we gotta do to win. We addicted, the MSM, and now we're moving in. And once we take over, we won't ever move again. Where we go on, we go all. I say it with pride. No, we won't run, we won't fall. We're right by your side. The demons have taken hold, but none of us will abide. Stand strong and stand bold, that's how we'll survive. 412 is the production. Monday through Friday, deplorable discussions. We're making it hard for the deep state to function. Every time they switch up the narrative, we debunk it. Adult Nero is the power that's controlling the plight. With all you patriots behind them, cause we're all in this fight. So many rhyme for so long, but we're giving them sight. Trapped in the world of darkness, but we're bringing them light. You may either find yourself in a different life. A lot of us have, and honestly, that's perfectly fine. Because exactly where you are at this moment in life is where you're supposed to be at this moment in time. It's all by design, the patriots are holding the line. They must have lost theirs, thinking they're controlling our minds. So many trapped in mental prisons don't know they can find. They're just slaves in the system till the roles are assigned. That's sad, the good news is that we're waking them up. They have monopolies on minds, but we're breaking them up. Everything you thought was news, they were making it up. When we ascend, all the tyrants won't be making the cut. Let them all burn in the hellscape they create. We the people already mapped out our escape. We hold each other by the hand as we all elevate and go to a different place. They can never get chased. When I look into the future, I can see that it's bright. When this history is written, they will see that we're right. We formed our own community and the circle is tight. But I expand the circle with every word that I write. The pen is sharper than the sword when you wield it with might. Why do you think they try to kick us off all the sites? These people hate America, punish us out of spite. We are the beacons of hope in the darkness of night. So let's go, strap in, yeah, get ready for the ride. Watch the water, we're witnessing the turning of the tide. Feel the passion and the fire that you got burning inside. Take the narrative they're feeding you and turn it to the side. We're alerted to the lies, we're preaching with the truth. We know the plan they devised, they're invading the youth. Now we're only sending vibes to start raising our boots. These demons all weaponized. Now we're raising our troops. Now we're raising the roof and sounding the alarm. Remember that it's always darkest before the dawn. Life is a game of chess. They want to use you as a pawn. You're only useful until you're not useful. Then you're gone. But not us. We're on the right team where we belong. Everybody is invited, so come follow along. We refuse to say things are right, knowing they're wrong. Adult Nero, take the mic and take flight to the song.
And now, straight from the Steel City, it's your host, 412 Adult Nero.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you all for being here, hanging out with us for another installment of Deplorable Discussions. My name is Adult Nero. It is October 29th, 2024. I've got my OG crew riding shotgun with me, as always. Tennessee Homesteader and Drunk Pinata. Tien, how's your Tuesday going, buddy?
Well, I've been on Twitter like crazy today because it's like they're going nuts, but my day is going well. Beautiful day today. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Cool, crisp, but not cold, you know?
Yeah.
But man, oh man, oh man. I've cleaned my driveway, and the following morning, it's like I never did it at all.
Yeah, with all those trees you got on the homestead,
Yeah,
I can imagine that's like a never-ending job.
it is.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is until the first snowfall, and then you can't do it.
yeah. Well,
But
clean them up while you can, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Actually, I have to do an oil change and things like that on my leaf vac so that I can harvest them, because that's what I typically do is harvest the leaves and then mulch them and use them in, gardening and things like that. But
Very
I
cool.
have a unit that does a 10-to-1 ratio between the leaf you suck up through the lawnmower, and then it goes through a shredder inside on the machine, and then it reduces to 10 cubic yards to a 1 cubic yard box.
Damn, it's pretty efficient right there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great because that then of course helps it break down and all that kind of stuff, and that's what you need. But aside from that, today it's kind of funny on I mean, Biden's regime, actually Mallorca's and the border, they're just going crazy. They're doing all kinds of different things now. I think it's the last hurrah. But
Yeah, yeah. I think they see what's coming, and whatever damage they can do between now and what would be a potentially new Trump administration to just make things as difficult as possible for him to succeed. I expect them to pull every stop along the way here. So and especially at the border, to just kind of unleash hell down there if things are trending the way they seem to be trending election wise.
yep.
All right, let's get Pinata in here. Drunk Pinata, good to see you, man. Hope you had a good show.
Well, with my show, good is always kind of subjective. So a lot of what is going on, and they're just trying to take advantage, obviously, of that comedian's words and saying that and saying everything about what he said is indicative of, and everybody else is now guilt by association from his comments, however people wanted to take them. Then that's the theme, right? From it, and then they keep splicing in this nonsense about the 1939 rally in a different building, and then they say just because it's the Hitler drank water arguments. It's just they have nothing, and they just keep throwing nothing. But they really don't have anything at this point. And so here they did as you guys we've brought this up. This is the when did you stop beating your wife thing, and this is pretty nasty tactic. And this is the type of thing that I look for on these people, whether or not they're propagandists or not, is if they use certain tactics knowingly, and she absolutely does here. She sets this up as if it's some like Trump was asked about something, and he was just describing the rally in general, and then she takes his response and says, "Well, we'll talk about it in just a minute."
We did just hear from Donald Trump about that incredibly controversial rally at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night. Let's listen.
Controversial.
Coalition. Nobody's ever seen anything like. I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like what happened the other night at Madison Square Garden. The love in that room. It was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in. But politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest, and it was my honor to be involved. And hopefully, they started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, and you know what? But can you imagine it? 1939, the Nazi, they would. But how terrible to say, right? Because, they've used Madison Square Garden many times. Many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country. It was really love.
7 days out, when you're effectively saying, I am not a Nazi, it's not exactly the place where your campaign wants to be. And I just want to really fact check here. Just like he did about January 6th, he's trying to rewrite and tell us what we saw with our own eyes did not happen. It was not full of love, except for him. There was a lot of love for Donald Trump there. But
so it's pretty dishonest. I mean, extremely
Pretty.
dishonest.
pretty.
Yeah,
I got
it's
100% dishonest. The love that occurred if you watched what was going on before Trump showed up, right?
it's well, it's again, it just
Yeah, of
it
course
shows
it's
how
better.
desperate they are. They're
Yep.
taking jokes by a roast comedian, and they're trying to
No, this one they moved on. They moved on beyond that.
they're trying to conflate it with political speech. He wasn't up there giving a political speech. He wasn't up there stumping for some kind of policy, or doing like any kind of political rhetoric whatsoever. He was like the opening act, a literal roast comedian doing his normal act on stage. What, and you can argue whether or not, that's maybe the appropriate venue for it, but to sit there and say that a comedian telling jokes is somehow hateful or hate speech or reflecting the views of a political campaign, again, just it shows how joyless and desperate these people
Mm.
really, really are.
And I think they would have latched onto anything. That's just the one that they said, okay,
Yeah.
we'll go on. They were going to do that. And
That's the low hanging fruit.
think
they
about
got.
the Atlantic article ahead of this, right? So you have what do they attack, and immediately was debunked. Which, interesting enough, from people in the room, Mark Meadows and Kash Patel were in the room about the discussion about the payment of the funeral. The sister comes out and says, none of that happened. Those two also refute what happened. They were in the room. And then the rest of that Atlantic article was just rehashed John Kelly nonsense that has already been debunked. And it's not people confirming what he said. It is people, sycophants like Alyssa Fair Griffin and other people that's saying, oh, John Kelly, he's such a nice man. He wouldn't lie. And that's their way. They're corroborating this 2 weeks out from the election. I mean, and of course they
that was the
did that
misclarical.
knowing that this propaganda about the Madison Square Garden ahead of time. And both times, what are they referencing? And what are they really scared about? Minority voting, Hispanic and in particular, because they put in the Trump, it's allegedly with a Mexican comment, then this with the Puerto Rico, again, Hispanic comment. Well,
But it's a stupid tactic if that's what they think it is,
I know.
because they know. No, it's beyond stupid, because, or what bubble do they live in? Because they're seeing the black population already moved away. They're seeing the Latino population already moved away. All they got is angry, sorry ladies, angry old women. That's all they have.
Yeah, so they're Rich Barris, with Big
Sorry,
Data
ladies.
Poll.
I didn't. You know that's. I don't mean to impugn anybody that's in chat. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Rich Barris, I guess, nationally, did a national poll. It's showing 28.2% of black men now going for Trump. That's an absolutely astonishing number when you think about it. He's winning. I think he's got over 50% of Latino men. He's polling well above 40% with Latinos as a whole. And even black women, which you think he got like 5 or 6% in 2020. He's polling right now at 12+% with them, and they typically vote a little bit more pro-Trump than they poll, based on trends that I've heard him talk about. So when you talk about the black community, the black vote, Donald Trump is making historic inroads with that right now. So you're absolutely right, because they know the survival of their party depends on race politics and these demographics that they feel owe them their vote, and it's starting to dissolve, and fall right between their fingertips here, as the terrible results from it all really is starting to catch up from them.
Speaking of that, they're also trying to play this out too. They're saying, hey, we know that he outperformed previously in the polls, but then they're saying it has never happened. And they kind of talk about how Trump is an outlier, which is true. I mean, none of this situation I don't think has ever happened where you had such a popular, essentially incumbency running for a second time. And
Yeah.
so, but that to me, that says that they're nervous. They're like, well, we know he's underperformed in the polls, but
Yeah. Go ahead, Tian.
desperation.
No, when you were looking at the male and female black vote, average it out between the two. It's over the 15%. And that's the mark that basically says you cannot win the election or you cannot lose the election if you have 15% of the black vote.
Yeah, I think right now he's right around 18%.
Exactly.
Because black women typically cast more ballots than black men.
No,
So
I
you gotta,
understand. I'm just
yeah, so
saying
you
use
gotta
the
wait
numbers
it.
that were.
You gotta wait it. But even when you wait it in that way, I think he still clears that threshold. And again, these are just the polls. I just have a sneaking suspicion that there's a significant portion of people that won't respond to these polls honestly, that don't want to publicly say they support Donald Trump. I think we're still kind of getting past that, that like, or just kind of reaching that like what do you call it, like social permission to to really openly support Donald Trump as a black person in this country without being shamed or ostracized for it. I think that we're slowly getting to that point, but I still do think that there are a significant number of minority voters in general that will never tell you publicly or tell someone interviewing or surveying them uh, that they plan to vote for Donald Trump. But when they get into that voting booth, um, and it's just between them and God, they will check that box. But right now, guys, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome onto the show a man that needs very little introduction around here, but we'll give him one anyway. Former Chief of Staff for the Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump, author of Government Gangsters, and really the driving force behind exposing the fraud that was the Russia collusion hoax. Kash Patel, man, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the program.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's great timing too. We're a week away from the election. We just finished up an epic weekend with Donald Trump. Starting off by going on Joe Rogan, an epic rally at Madison Square Garden. You have Steve Bannon being released from prison today, getting back on the war room. How do you feel things are trending right now overall for the 2024 presidential race, Cash? How confident are you?
Look, I'm confident in Donald Trump's abilities and capabilities. I'm confident in Donald Trump's Agenda 47 and his relentless pursuit to put America first. Now I need the American people to return that confidence in Donald J. Trump. We are not going to take the foot off the gas. We are not going to say, up, it's a week left, nothing much to do, and our vote doesn't count. I'm talking to you people who don't vote early. I don't care if you don't like it. How do you think Kamala Harris is going to be if she wins? What's she going to do with your guns? She's going to take them all. What's she going to do to the men and women of faith in this community, in this country? And that's why I'm calling out the gun community and the evangelicals more than I am calling out everyday Americans, because they stayed home in more numbers than all the rest of the others combined. Those folks need to turn up. You need to go vote early. You need to get your congregations out there. You need to get your communities and gun clubs out there. You need to go find people who don't vote and facilitate their vote and legally ballot harvest and submit voting mail ballots. You need to go out there and relay Donald Trump's message about America first and show them a simple reality. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? You don't even have to answer that question. But it is incumbent upon you to ask that question to at least 100 people you don't know from now until next Tuesday.
I love that. I love that. Assuming, and I know it's a big assumption, everyone does need to go out there and vote, but, assuming that we do get a swamp the vote situation, too big to rig. Cash, what do you see the Democrats and the establishment in general attempting to do between now and January 6th to stop the certification of the vote? Because that's kind of where I see the big battle coming, is not necessarily winning the election, but getting to January 6th and actually officially inaugurating Donald Trump without the lawfare and shenanigans that they might try to play.
Look, this is part of President Trump's brilliance. He has swamped the vote as one of his massive campaign policies. It's painted on the bus, the Trump bus tour, which I've been on in almost every single swing state, and I'm going to return to Western Pennsylvania at the end of the week. We have to swamp the vote so we win for President Trump by such a big number that it doesn't matter. And that specific delta was identified by Steve Bannon, who just released from his unconstitutional prison sentence this morning. That specific number is you can only have, like in my home state of Nevada, there are only X amount of mail-in ballots. Literally, there are only an X amount of mail-in ballots. That number you cannot make up, right? And so if you win by a majority, a number bigger than that delta, that's it. It doesn't matter. And that's the only focus we should be on in Nevada and Arizona, and Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Georgia. That's it. You win those states, Donald Trump wins the presidency. And if you beat the number of mail-in ballots that have yet to be counted by those votes that have already been tabulated, nothing has to happen. after November 5th, other than Donald Trump being sworn in on January 20th. That's why the fight for the next 7 days is so critical. I don't want people focused on what ifs and how are we going to do X or Y and what are we doing after January 5th. It's all roads to January 5th.
Yeah, no, I mean you're absolutely right. Getting that giant margin in the votes is going to be imperative, especially when you talk about the popular vote and the mandate to lead. I think that's going to be a huge deal. Um, you know, it- Another question I have for you is, I know you're close to President Trump. Um, in a Trump 2.0 administration, what fundamentally would you change from a Trump administration 1 to 2? Any fundamental changes in the way he approaches governance?
Look, I'm going to answer that question that we have been. If and when we win on November 5th, then I'll come back and give you all the answers you want about post November 5th. But my message to everybody out there is, what are you doing to help President Trump win? Not what's he going to do if and when he wins. What have you done these last 4 years, these last 4 weeks, this last week to help the president get across the finish line? President Trump has laid out his Agenda 47. Unlike Kamala Harris, he does more media than any president before him, probably before all of them combined. So it's not a question of what he's going to do. He's identified people that he's going to surround himself with. He has placed people in senior positions in his campaign that know how to run a campaign. And he has put people in front of the TV and media that can relay his effective message. You've seen his circuits. They're out there. They're not in hiding.
Right.
They're all over the country. So you've seen the type of people that President Trump is going to surround himself with. And it's only a man like President Trump who can pull in, like I was at Madison Square Garden, an RFK, and a Tucker Carlson. I mean, just think of that. And a Hulk Hogan, and Phil, Dr. Phil, and the list goes on. That's the community of unity that President Trump has been building. And that's what we need to continue to build through November 5th. And if we pull this thing off, then we can figure out the rest. And yes, I will tell you, there have been massive lessons learned from 8 years ago. Of course there have been. But we got to bank the vote first, and then we'll fix the process.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know if you saw, Cash, there was a story going around today about in Pennsylvania, them shutting down the early voting lines early by a couple hours in Bucks County and one other place too. Have you seen this at all?
I've read about a little bit about it on social media, but again, whatever they're doing, wait in line. Be patient, but be firm, and record any shenanigans that are going on and report it to law enforcement. That's exactly what you have to do. And report it. Go to donaldjtrump.com and find the emails relevant to making any such credible reportings of precincts being shut down and whatnot. And then get local media attention on it by putting it out there on social media. And if it is actual credible reporting, we will get to the bottom of it and provide you with assistance. But we need you guys to let us know what's going on. We're going to be back in Pennsylvania. I was there almost all of last week, and we're going to be back for 4 more days on the Trump bus tour. And that's one of the things we're ensuring is prevented, that everybody that wants to vote legally has the opportunity to vote and gets to their precinct and is allowed to vote within the hours established by law. These are all the things necessary to win. And I'm glad it's being highlighted in Pennsylvania that people are going to continue to wade through the nonsense to make sure Donald Trump wins.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. I know you want to focus on between now and election day, but I did have one other question I did want to ask you about of what a Trump 2.0 administration could do, or what you felt it needs to do to really protect the American First movement into the future. And the reason I asked that is because we saw a massive success in the first Trump administration, great economy, secure border, reduction in crime. We also saw how quickly that was undone by one election in a Biden administration, how quickly things were flipped on its head. Is there any specific things that you feel need to be accomplished this time around to really further insulate the longer term plan for the Republic?
Well, you just got to come in with the right bench, and President Trump has that bench. And I'm not just talking cabinet secretaries, I'm talking deputies, chiefs, and keep going 8, 9, 10 rungs down the ladder. We know that it's no longer you can just rely on Republicans. We know the swamp exists, the deep state exists. It's a Democratic, Republican, uniparty swamp monster machine. I mean, that's why I wrote Government Gangsters, and that's why Steve Bannon released and made that bestseller into a movie. So your whole audience should, if they want to know how to fix government, that's the whole point of Government Gangsters. I literally list them in the back of my bestseller in alphabetical order, and Bannon flipped it into a 63-minute documentary, which you can get at warroom.film. Stream it now at warroom.film. Host a viewing party in your community like we've been doing in almost every state in this country to educate Americans on your question. What was broken? How do we fix it? And who's going to be the person that fixes? Obviously, for me, that's Donald J. Trump. But all the ideas in there about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, about lowering the number of attorneys here and there, about eliminating redundancies, and about saving American taxpayer dollars, about shutting down the operational two-tier system of justice that has been weaponized against Americans for political purposes. The how to do that is all in the book, Government Gangsters. It's all in the film. But we learn about all these people. Look, there's Republicans, Democrats, and independents behind me. Their faces are on there for a reason because they are emblematic of the corruption that Donald Trump dropped an anvil on in his first administration. That's why they fear him, not necessarily just for his policies to make America first, as if any American could actually disagree with that. But putting that issue aside, the swamp, fears Donald Trump because he's going to continue and finish the job of exposing the corruption of these corrupt officials and others. They are terrified of that. They've never seen a force that can do that. And if you want to fix government, and if you want to have accountability within government, then you have to fully expose the rot. And that is what Donald Trump is going to do. He started to do that. He's the only one with the wasta and capability and stones to complete that process. And that's why they're seeing all these things about voting line delays, and people are so focused on post-January, November 5th. We got to not take their bait, double down, drop the clutch from now until November 5th, and show our communities the truth that the mainstream media won't. And read or play Government Gangsters, and hopefully on November 6th, I'll come back on your show and we'll have a different conversation.
Man, I would absolutely love that, Cash. You talk about exposing the corruption and rot. I mean, how deep do you think we're gonna go down that rabbit hole? Like when we talk about things like the Epstein client list, what's going on with Diddy right now. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the past too. You talk about the JFK assassination, 9/11. There's a lot of questions and a lot of little dark secrets and corners here within our government. I think a lot of people are very interested in knowing the full scope of. I mean, do you expect a lot of that stuff to come out under the next administration?
Well, if you want it to come out, the only administration it's going to come out under is Trump. So if that's your issue, exposure, sunshine as a disinfectant, revealing the decades of corruption in Washington, D.C., retiring the dynastic families that have prevented you from seeing the truth, putting out to pasture the Bushes, the Cheneys, the Obamas, and the Clintons, then you got to vote DJT. That's it. If you care about nothing else that we've talked about before, you've heard elsewhere, if you just care about government accountability, the only person that's ever given it to you, the only person that's shown that the FBI actually lied in federal court to illegally surveil Americans, the only person that's shown you that the Department of Justice weaponized their system to raid houses of worship and stand by abortion clinics to achieve a political agenda is Donald Trump. And the only the list goes on and they're all in the book, but those are critically important to the success of a constitutional republic. And I'll end with this. We don't have a revenge list. We have a constitution. And I just want a commander-in-chief that applies it equally to everyone. Citizens that live outside of DC and citizens that work in Washington, DC and have the privilege of serving this country. And if you have failed your government and broken the law, then you should be investigated and prosecuted just like anybody else. But Donald Trump's the only one that's going to do it. So put him on top of the ticket with JD Vance. Vote all the way down. Senate, Congress, House, State Legislature, Assembly. We need Republican majorities in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. One last thing before I let you go, Cash, because I know you don't have a lot of time. How is Steve Bannon? Have you talked to him since he's been released? How's he doing?
He's great. We communicated the entire time he was in. And this morning we chatted again. He's back on War Room. He just did a press conference. He's raring to go. He did not take a timeout when he was in prison. He did not cry that he was there unconstitutionally. He's using it to expose, yet again, the unconstitutional nature of a politicized system of justice. He was a political prisoner, just like Navarro. And now he's out there talking about substantive things like the First Step Act, with Donald Trump passed into law to allow those, especially minorities, a chance, a second chance, and getting out early. And Steve Bannon, by the way, was supposed to be out early under the First Step Act. But of course, the Kamala Harris and DOJ and Bureau of Prisons yet again weaponized and broke the law and selectively chose not to apply to him. If they're not applying it to him, who else, as he pointed out, are they not applying it to? There should be many more minorities out under President Trump's law, not executive order, law. And I think Steve Bannon, you're going to see, is just going to go, as he always does, work tirelessly on every single issue. And he's going to be one of the loudest voices to get our base to show up for President Trump. And I'm talking to you gun owners. I'm talking to you evangelicals. I'm talking to you Bitcoin guys. I'm talking to you crypto guys. I'm talking to you gamers. You got to get out there, because Donald Trump has issued policies that address your specific concerns directly. Ask yourself, what has Kamala Harris and Joe Biden done for you? Ask yourself that question and see if you're still willing to sit at home this go round.
No, absolutely. Cash, I really appreciate the time. And if you want to plug the book and the film one more time before you go, thanks again for coming on, man. It's been a real honor.
No, I appreciate it. The only social media you'll find me on is Truth Social, at Cash on Truth Social. If you think you're following me elsewhere, you're following some other Indian guy. And I'm at, Government Gangsters, my bestseller, which Donald Trump called the roadmap for 2024, is available on Amazon and signed copies at governmentgangsters.com. Joe Biden spent 10 months in a federal lawsuit trying to keep that book away from the American public. And Bannon flipped it into a movie right before he went to prison. Warroom.film, warroom.film. It's all about the government gangsters manhunt, but we need America to do it.
Cash, thanks a lot, man.
Also, the work you're doing through your foundation.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the Cash Foundation is one of the biggest blessings we've had. If you go to thecashfoundation.com, don't worry about contributing. Just tell us who in your community needs help. We're building homes for veterans. We're putting kids to college. We're helping disaster relief victims more so than Harrison Biden ever did. And we're doing so much for law enforcement and our fallen heroes and their families. Thecashfoundation.com. We're helping whistleblowers expose corruption. So check it out. Buy some swag. Wear the colors with pride. K$H, as the New York Times likes to tell me, I'm just out there making money off of my moniker. Another fake report. We're giving it away to people in need.
I love that.
You're such a grifter. Sorry.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Cash.
so much, man.
Yep. Well, there you go, Kash Patel. Man, that was awesome. I know it was a pretty short interaction. We only had him for 15 minutes, but I got to say it was a huge honor just to have him come on the show, even for that short period of time. He kind of threw me off when he was like, "I don't want to talk about after the election," because most of my questions were actually about the future of Trump 2.0 and the lessons.
There's a lot of
learned.
what ifs, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was with you because that's one of my
questions.
question wasn't that. It wasn't related necessarily to what happens after. It's after November 5th, but it's the whole aspect of their game is not up on 11/5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And a lot of you don't get to talk to somebody that has that kind of connection and insight into like the inner workings of the machine and how Donald Trump thinks and the overall strategy behind the way he got. So, for me, it's like, I want to know, like, all right, what are the big things? Like, what are the big items that they want to get done to really set things up for the future? Because we know Donald Trump can't run for a third time. What are the biggest
head of HHS?
Yeah, exactly. So I know that he was very focused on between now and
Well,
the
and there's stuff
election.
he can't also let out of the bag, and not necessarily secrets, but it's give indication of, because it's one thing for us to theorize what they're going to do and who's going to do it. For example, RFK Jr. as either head of the FDA or head of HHS, right? Either one of those two would work perfectly for what he wants to accomplish. But if you put that out there, it's an instant attack. Before that, people can speculate, and you can deflect it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. I was really, because when you watch this whole thing with the Nazi stuff and that whole narrative, although they've used it before, it's Raskin and Elias that are doing it now. right?
Hmm.
So, and Raskin is the one that's been out there already and saying it multiple times that they're going to do everything to prevent him from taking office. So that's post 11/5, pre 120.
Yep.
Definitely. And I've been speaking to this, and not about the cheating as much as saying understand that it's all about December 11th and December 17th. If you don't know what those dates are, you best start looking it up and understand what they mean. Because
about
we
the
don't
14th?
elect the president on November 5th.
One safe harbor day. I don't know. I can't remember which
Yeah,
one.
I thought it was the 14th.
December 17th is the deadline for safe harbor. If the states don't get their electors in place and any issues with the electors resolved, they don't count.
What's wait? I thought it was the 14th was one of the dates.
No, the 11th and the 17th. The 14th was last year. Was last summer.
Oh, it changes by a year. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
so it's
Because
the day
it
of the
has
week.
to do with the first Tuesday past the
Oh,
second Wednesday. That's what Title III, Section 15 on the Electoral Act, and that's why the Democrats are all up in arms about that, and that's why they
gotcha.
changed it in 22 after.
Because 2020 was what, the 8th and the 14th, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I was like, okay, well, that's good moving forward because I would have been saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, and you weren't off. It's just more or less it changes because of the way the calendar
Yeah,
rolls
you're right.
out,
You're right. You're right. Okay.
Because it's not based on the date; it's based on a day of the week.
Same way the election changes. based
Exactly,
on- okay,
exactly.
Gotcha.
So those are the key dates here, and I'm not obviously Cash is correct. I mean, it's as the meme says, balls to the walls to November 5th because that does have an influence. That's where the electors come into play. But understand that for POTUS, the November 5th vote is essentially the popular vote. It's the down ballot that's critical.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we got to keep the House. I mean, they are already speculating over Trump's comment. Do we? So, I I guess people from the audience here that actually made it into the rally, I heard from someone that said that Matt Gaetz was there, but Mike Johnson was also there. So what the media is rolling with, he was telling Mike Johnson, we got a little secret thing, and then so now all these people on the really fringe independent of the lefty side, the loony bin people that I cover, they're speculating and they're saying they can't it's going to be sedition. They're already like doing their own TDS fantasy stories about all this stuff and saying that it has to be certified. It has to be certified. And for me, I'm just thinking, okay, right now they're producing clips of Nancy Pelosi saying that it has to be certified. That with the dates that Tian's talking about, that the Electoral College, once it's settled, we can't touch it. Like, and so they're already taking that little thing that he said, turning it into and twisting it into what they think that they would do, or you know what I mean. What they, you know what I mean. They're flipping it around,
But understand too
they're creating this atmosphere that whatever happens and whoever's the determined that winner, it can't be challenged. Like he's putting that narrative out there. So I'm seeing what his statement has done to them and what it's producing, and I've been doing this long enough to see. And I'll hopefully. I'll let you guys know if that continues to be a constant trend or not.
and understand that, and this is to your point, that the certification of the election is different from the certification of the electors.
Right. I just mean that
No, I'm not
you were
correcting
saying
you.
that Raskin has already foreshadowed what they want to do.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying I see a counter foreshadowing campaign.
Yeah. No, and it's true, and this is where, and I've mentioned this before in 2020, that what we had was that large influx, and now what we've seen is a mass amount of late registration, both in York County, New York County in Pennsylvania, and you see it in Colorado and at Mesa, Colorado, as an example, Mesa County. But you have that angle coming into play, right? So that ups the number of available numbers that you can cast a vote against, right? To balance out the aspect of saying you cannot overcome the number of registered voters. Well, how do you do that? Well, you overwhelm the registered voters.
in the early
Right,
voting,
exactly.
right? He was hammering that
So,
home. So I
yeah.
guess the reports that are going around, Rich Barris made a tweet, Dilly retweeted it. So I think the right people are going to see this. Who, you know what I mean? The kind of groups
Yeah.
that are plugged into
Yeah, yeah.
that. So that just happened a few minutes ago. So I think we're gonna get they're gonna check that out the way he was saying. Like if you see something, say something. So it looks like that at least that early voting thing is being checked out in
Let me,
And
Pennsylvania.
let
in
me, yeah,
PA,
let me
they
jump
did
in here
that. I
for,
have there's a video in PA of the not the cops, guys that are wearing uniform, but they say emergency services under flak jackets or their vests that are actually putting
don't worry,
signs that
don't worry,
said,
Tien. I'm sure they'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, the same way Ricky Vaughn was for
right,
the Hillary
right,
tweet, because they take voter suppression on both sides equally,
yeah,
equally seriously. And real fast, I saw a couple people coming in late asking about Cash. He left. He came in a bit earlier than we had
you're right.
originally planned. He was originally supposed to come on from 4:30 to 4:45. They had to bump it up because he had something else going on to 4:15. So he came on a bit earlier than anticipated, but we did 15 minutes with him. It was a lot of fun. You can rewind and go see it, or wait till after the show's done and catch it on replay. If any of you guys out there that are good at clipping things, don't mind maybe clipping that for me and sending me a file or helping me out with that, because
I'll do that. I'll do
yeah,
that from the Rumble feed.
yeah, I appreciate any help with clipping that out, because I like to post that standalone. That was a really cool experience. I hope I didn't look as nervous on the outside as I was on the inside during that. But
No,
again, just
you're
huge,
solid, dude.
yeah, huge thank you to Cash Patel, if he is still listening, for taking some time out of, I know what's a extremely busy schedule to spend some time on our little show here. So I really did appreciate that, and you guys out there that have helped spread the word, come and showed support. I got a lot of text messages and private messages from people wishing me luck, and just kind of inflating my tires a bit before all that. And I just want to say how much I appreciate that, guys, because that was a big deal for me. I haven't done anything like that with someone that close and connected and recognizable, right? That was probably the most intense interview, not from a standpoint of content, but just about who it was, that I've ever done. So that was really cool, and a really awesome experience. I just wanted to thank everybody out there. And yeah, it's, again, just huge thank you to Cash Patel as well.
So I
Got
guess I better put away my 10-penny nail gun, right?
Yeah, please. I wanted to talk about Steve Bannon getting out. And play his first segment on the War Room. If you guys are up for watching, it's only like 8 minutes long, but he got released today, and he opened up the War Room with some fire, and I thought it'd be fun to kind of watch before we go into the second half of our show, exclusively on pilled.net. But here, let's check this out. For those of you that didn't see it, Steve Bannon, fresh out of prison, done with his sentence being a political prisoner of the Biden-Harris regime. Take a listen.
Live from New York, the world's financial capital. You're in the War Room. It's Tuesday, the 29th of October in the year of our Lord 2024. We're 6 and a wake up away from one of the most important political days in the history of this country. But I want to make sure everybody understands something. And you see from our great staff here, and I'll talk a little bit about the production team and our co-host, and of course the War Room posse, all the great efforts you made so that it was next man up. And it's now my turn, right? It's my turn to be next man up, as you guys have done such a magnificent job over the last 4 months. Understand something, and this has to be very clear. The Democrats and those radicals you just saw on MSNBC and CNN and Joe Scarborough and that entire crowd, right? They had Robert Kagan's wife, who brought this entire debacle on Ukraine on us. They have no intention of giving up power. We have a three-phase, and this is why it's so important for this audience. You're the backbone of this movement. We have two things we're going to talk about today: the get out the vote effort, focused on our first phase, which is November 5th. Then the second is to make sure that they cannot steal the election with Mark Elias and others of these, the nullification project, that they're bringing in, which goes from November 5th all the way to Inauguration Day.
Hello.
With January 6th being a key part of that. We'll talk about in a second. The other is the delegitimization process. I have never heard, and I think most people would agree, the rhetoric that's come out about American citizens calling this audience, not just Donald Trump and not the people around Donald Trump, that's bad enough, calling us fascists, but calling you fascists, saying that fantastic, that amazing rally in Madison Square Garden that could never be pulled off by Kamala Harris or the Democrats, with that energy and people from Tulsi Gabbard to Elon Musk, just the broad cross-section you had of American entrepreneurs, Vivek Ramaswamy, you had these powerhouses up there, right? And they're trying to besmirch that with one influencer's kind of throwaway, not funny line. I can tell you, in coming from and being a political prisoner in a federal prison, that the young men in this country that are African American and Hispanic detest Kamala Harris. They detest her. We're going to go into details today and at the press conference of why that's up. But we have a chance to move past race on November 5th. Everything we have fought for so many years is all coming to fruition, and we have to have a convergence. And my fear is that some people, I think, are trying to lean on the shovel and say, look at the polls, these polls, and Trump always under polls, and he does this, so Trump's up 3, 4, 5. Hey, maybe that's the case, but that's theoretical right now. Reality is the electorate we bring on November 5th, and that gets back to you, that gets out to get the vote. Look, Elon Musk is one of the smartest guys in the world, right? If not the smartest practical engineer in the world. Charlie Kirk is incredibly smart. Look where they've put their efforts over the last couple of months. Look where Elon Musk wrote $150 million worth of checks the last couple of months. It is flat out, get out the vote. And that's where this audience comes in. Your efforts have been magnificent. The co-hosts that have done this for 4 hours a day and a couple hours on Saturday, and then plus other streaming we've done with Grace and Mo, the incredible thing of these people stepping up is everything to motivate you to make sure that you get out and vote. You know, Nancy Pelosi sent me to a federal prison. She sent me to a federal prison as a political prisoner to do two things: to make sure that she tried to tamp down the power of this show, right? Tamp down the power of the show, and also to break me. Nancy Pelosi, take out your number 2 pencil and write this down. This show has never been more powerful. The voices behind it have never been more powerful. The audience has never been more powerful. And we're going to deliver a knockout blow to your progressive insanity on 5 November. And then we're going to secure the deal after that. And number 2, the 4 months in federal prison not only didn't break me, it empowered me. I am more energized and more focused than I've ever been in my entire life. And I can see clearly, just like in 2016 and in 2020, exactly what's going on here and what we have to do to defeat it. I want to go back through the 3 phases. Number 1 is 5 November. All that matters right now in places like Pennsylvania and in Michigan and in Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, obviously other states, but these 7 battleground states, is to deliver something that takes us to where Ohio and Florida are today. We have to put this beyond their ability to steal it. Because don't think for a second, by hiring Mark Elias and the gang of thugs around him, that they don't look at phase 2. They understand Kamala Harris, it's impossible for her to generate any enthusiasm. Number 1, what she had to do was to focus on one thing and drive the narrative. Her politics of joy was too ill-defined. She didn't do it. So what did they do last week? They pivoted. Tonight falls on America. This is a fascist movement that the people that support it are equivalent to the American Bund, the American German Bund in the 1930s. That is a bald-faced lie, and it's a dangerous lie. So number 1, on November 5th, we have to crush them at the ballot box. And there's only one way to do that. The commercials aren't going to do it. Only thing is going to do it is you're putting your shoulder to the wheel. The hard work of walking precincts, the hard work of working phone banks, the hard work of texting nonstop. And we have to put in superhuman efforts to support the Elon Musk of the world, to support the Charlie Kirks of the world, to support the other organizations that are out there doing this. Number two, and we're going to have hopefully Mike Davis and Boris Epstein and Bill McGinley, three of the prominent leaders in the legal effort to combat Mark Elias. They are signaling you right now what they're going to do. Every day, what you see, we're going to delay, we can't count the vote for 7 days, we're going to take mail-in ballots 5 days later. Every day after the evening of November 5th is going to be Stalingrad, where Mark Elias is in court, and they're going to do this to slow it down. If they can't take it away from Trump, if they can't nullify it right there, they want to at least delegitimize his victory. Remember, Jamie Raskin is out there dovetailing off of Nancy Pelosi's interview in the Rolling Stone, where she says, I only have one purpose in my life. My purpose is to make sure that Donald Trump is never reelected president of the United States and he never sets foot into the White House again. And Jamie Raskin has been very upfront. If they take the House even by a single vote, 218 to 217, what they will do is sit there and say that Trump is an insurrectionist, that, hey, Bannon and Vardy went to prison. Trump's been indicted. He's an insurrectionist, and he cannot take the office of the presidency. All that's in front of us. We're going to take a short commercial break. I think I've got the rhythm down here. Take a short commercial break. You're in the war room. President Trump is about to have a news conference. We're going to go live to that because we want to hear what President Trump has to say.
All right, there you go. Steve Bannon laying out a lot of what TN's been talking about as far as delaying the certification, potentially pushing it past the safe harbor date, or just trying to delegitimize things in the effort. And again, that's why the massive margins in the swamp the vote too big to rig is such an important meme, is such an important mission. Because there's, if it's so absurd on November 5th, if the returns come in and the margins are just so wild in favor of Donald Trump, there's not going to be the number of remaining mail-in ballots that are still, out there and pending are going to be irrelevant to most of these races. So as far as delaying Donald Trump's certification for the presidency, the mission here, like Kash was saying, is to make that margin bigger than the remaining votes that are still out and waiting to come in, right? Because you could look, every state shows you how many requested mail-in ballots there are and how many have already been returned. So there's a delta there. That delta is the ceiling for what they can jam into the system. So you go out there and we swamp the vote. If they only have, 100,000, I'm just using round numbers, 100,000 mail-in ballots pending or out waiting to come in, and, Trump's lead is 150,000, that's no longer a viable argument to stop from certifying. So that's why it's so absolutely important that even if you think that Trump has a comfortable lead in your state, and you feel good about where things are trending, that you still get out and vote and get as many people to go out and vote as possible, because it's not just voting against the legitimate Kamala Harris voter. You're voting against an entire system and machine of voter fraud, of a machine of corruption, cheating, morally cowardice judges, and law enforcement in a lot of places. You're up against a lot. And the only way to truly secure victory is to absolutely overwhelm unequivocally any doubt that this is a victory for the America First movement. And I think that's where this is all trending. And I think that's one question I wish I would have had another minute to ask Cash is if he saw, this last 4 years as almost a blessing in disguise, reaching a way of reaching, the people that otherwise were unreachable, with the messaging of American First, by giving them that A/B comparison, the success and the failure, and then the opportunity for success again, so close together. We haven't had, and we discussed this in a previous show, a modern day example of an administration, quote unquote, losing an election and coming back and trying to win one after being away. It's a unique time. It's a unique scenario. And I think that it's offering also a unique opportunity, to really reset the trajectory of where this country's going. So it's very exciting times, but again, none of it matters, none of it works, none of it happens if we all don't show up and do our part as the voters. And I know that we don't have much to worry about within this particular audience. I'm sure all of you out there are going to vote. I hope you all are planning on voting. I hope you all have people that you're going to be getting out to the polls with you. But the American people in general, the people that want to see this country succeed, that support Donald Trump's agenda, they really need to show up and show out. And so far, it looks good. But like Cash said, pedal down, no stopping, no letting up. Do not take your foot off the throat of the enemy until this is said and done. Tien, go ahead, and then we got to go to our break.
So I just have a question in what you said, and that is the margin.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. But what happens if the margin is so great that Trump overwhelms and they still have more ballots than they do margin?
If they still have more ballots sent out than the
Because
margin?
they know how many ballots they have. They just don't know who they voted for. But they know how many ballots they have. So what happens if the margin is overwhelmed by a Trump vote, which, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the number of ballots they still have left is greater than the margin that's remaining. They can say, the media can say, and the media will say, as they will, they project who wins the state from an electoral perspective, but we all know that's not who votes for the election, for the electors, right, in the electoral college. So what happens if Trump has an overwhelming margin? The number of ballots that are left are greater than the margin.
Well, that's why we need to try to outdo that, because that's
No. You're missing the meaning. The number of ballots for Trump votes overwhelms the margin, but the number of ballots they have left are still greater than the margin.
Well,
now you're making an assumption that the number of ballots left are Kamala votes. You're making an assumption.
They would be making an assumption.
No.
But what I was saying was the goal needs to be to have a margin larger than those pending ballots that haven't been received yet.
But what is to say that and I mean, I know this is close to my theory, but I'm setting it up on purpose to say, what if they say Trump cheated? The margin is greater than the number of votes for Trump popular wise is greater than the margin. The number of ballots that are left over is greater than the margin, and they say Trump cheated. Which they've already have said that Trump is going to cheat, that the Republicans are going to cheat.
The burden of proof on that would have to be extremely high.
Enter 1211. Because if the burden of proof is there, you have to have some form of audit. And I don't mean what they did in Arizona per se, but some form of auditing, and some form of proof has to come out that says they're because in the past it hasn't prevented them from raising the concern that the election was fraudulent, right? So it'll be interesting to see through the court system, which is delay. Remember, the goal here is delay, right? So if the court system threw out Trump because it says you don't have the standing, how long did it take to do that, right? So it took,
This is why 2020 was interesting, because they set a precedent there that they would certify these things despite, the ongoing court cases and pending things that
Well,
were
yeah,
happening.
even in
but,
Georgia,
but
some of
they,
their
but they
We've
legislation
seen
threw,
says that
this.
they
We've
have to
seen this.
certify.
We saw this
no,
in
no,
2020. We saw this in 2022. We
you're,
saw it with Carrie Lake. She had pending lawsuits where there was serious questions about signature verification, the legitimacy of the vote. But they went ahead, they certified the vote, they installed Katie Hobbs, regardless. We
yes,
saw
yes,
this. We
yes,
saw
but
this in
you're,
2022. In 2020, also, rather not. In 2020, also, where there was a lot of pending court cases leading up to safe harbor date, and they didn't slow that down. They
but that
pushed
was
those as
because it
well.
was against Republicans.
I get that. I get that. But my point is that that's going to be a very, very tough sell
No, it
to the
won't.
American people. Yeah,
The American, it'll be irrelevant at the American people at that point. It'll be irrelevant because it'll be dependent upon what the American people can and or will do about it.
that I agree with.
Well,
That
so then we can't say whether it's not in, I don't mean that it's not important, but for the matter of this discussion, it doesn't matter what the American people think because it's going to go down to the court system. And it's going to go down to the same corrupt system that we're all discussing half the time. So what makes this different from 2020 is not that it's not, sorry, what makes a difference is it's not the Republicans claiming fraud, it's the Democrats claiming fraud. And then
yeah,
all doors
I
are open.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. As far
Because
as
it's all about the delay.
the way the machine works in the favor of the establishment, and Donald Trump is certainly outside of that, and things likely won't go fairly for him in that respect. But what I will just come back to is I think that's why you see this major embrace of early voting. You see this major effort of ballot chasing, this complete restructuring of the ground game, is because they know that to make this go smoothly, they have to overcome the pending mail-in ballots. They have to have their margin overcome the remaining
No,
mail-in
they just
ballots
have to
out
be
there.
able to
And
claim cheating. All they have to do is claim cheating and delay. The whole goal is to delay. They delay to December 11th, it's all over for that state.
all
And it
right, I
only
see.
takes one county to do that.
I get what you're saying. I'm not as I guess I don't think that they're going to be as if it's the landslide we think it's going to be. I don't think that they're going to try to pull that. I really don't. But maybe I'll be playing that little video
Well,
after.
Both Cash and Bannon were telling you that they're going to do everything possible
Well,
between November
yeah,
5th and January
but
20th.
before he said that, though, he prefaced all of it was, you have to swamp the vote because there's a limited bank of ballots they have out there. You need the margin to be bigger than that. And then he went into all that stuff after the fact, but he prefaced it all by saying that that margin needs to be bigger than the outgoing
Right, but
ballots. And that's and
what's the point of then bringing the aftermath? If the margin is bigger and is de facto, what's the point of their after? What would they be challenging? They would be
they're
challenging the
challenged.
margin.
Tien. They're hiring Mark Elias in hopes that Kamala Harris keeps it close enough that those outstanding ballots could potentially put her over the top. What Cash was saying, in my opinion, was that if you get that margin significantly higher than what the outstanding ballot balance is, then the challenges will fall completely flat and there's not much they can do. That's what he prefaced the whole thing on, is the fact that there's a limited bank of mail-in ballots that they can go for. And once you overcome that, it's over.
No, it's
But
not.
that I
No, it's
okay,
not.
we agree to disagree on that, I guess.
No, it's
So
not, babe, because the
I have to
simple
go to break.
fact is if they put in enough ballots for Trump and then claim fraud, that's their evidence.
they have to
They
they'd have
put the ballots in.
they'd have to prove that there's enough fake ballots to bring him below that
They don't
margin.
have to prove shit, Adel. I'm telling you, all they have to do is create the situation to delay.
Okay. Agree to disagree.
Okay, so let me tell you this.
Well, I got to go to break, Ken.
If they don't certify the electors, what happens? If a state cannot certify their electors, not the election, understand, I say electors.
It
What
goes to
happens?
It goes to Congress.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That state's electoral votes don't get counted, and on December 17th. And if there's no clear majority on December 17th when it goes to the archivist, and that's on January 6th, that's when it goes to the Congress. But at that point they have to take in the top 3 getters of electoral votes. So understand the process to be able to. I'm not saying that they will be successful. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that there's another game that's being played here, and there's a major issue as to why they're pushing, generally speaking, the November 5th. I think there's another shoe to drop there. But the Democrats, and Raskin has been laying it out there, and you're getting the little hints. They're targeting after the fact, because all they need is one county within one state, and to prove there was fraud, pro-Trump fraud, and it won't matter who did it. At that point, it'll go into the court system, it'll go into the whole process of challenges, and then they run the risk of not certifying the electors. It's not about certifying the election for that state, because that's the down ballot and the local votes, et cetera, for all the whatever rules and bonds they have going on in that state and or county. It's about the electors.
All right. Understood. We have to go to break. Those of you guys watching on Rumble, DLive, CloudHub, Odyssey, and Twitter, please come find us over on pilled.net. If you want to watch hour number 2, we will be broadcasting the second hour exclusively over on those on that platform. I'm going to put the link out there for you guys on DLive and Rumble chat. It's also in the Rumble description underneath the video. If you can't get to these links out there, it's really easy. All you got to do is type in pilled.net into your browser and find us at 412 Productions. It's very, very easy to do. So I hope I'll see you guys over there. We're gonna play a quick video on the other side. We'll officially say goodbye to our other platforms, and then we're gonna go ahead, read your gold pills. There's been lots of support and love coming in, so I want to go through all of those, and from there we've got plenty more. Catherine Heritage put out a really interesting whistleblower video from the IRS I want to get into. Got some more polling data that we could go through, plus a whole bunch of other bits and pieces that I've kind of stumbled upon today to potentially get to as well. So please jump on over to pilled.net and come join us for another hour of deplorable discussions. We'll be right back.
Pilled.net is proud to host 412 Productions, exclusively on the true home of free speech. To continue watching the show, we are here to help you over to Pilled. If you're new to the platform, just click on the welcome link provided. It will then automatically walk you through signing up for your free account. If you already have a Pilled.net account, follow the link provided directing you straight to 412 Productions channel. We are excited to have you join the Pilled family, and if you have any questions at all, please email support@pilled.net. Enjoy the rest of 412 Productions on Pilled.net. Free speech lives here.
Back. All right, we are back. Thank you guys so much, especially those of you who have popped over to Pilled for the second hour from our other platforms. I really appreciate when you guys do that. If you are over on pilled.net, please hit that red pill button and repost the show. Share the link out there anywhere you can. Yeah, we got a fun second hour. Those of you who won't be joining us, no worries. We will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be welcoming our very good friends, 45-1 Actual and the No Prisoners podcast crew on the show for a visit. It's the last Wednesday of the month, which they always join us for. So always excited to talk to those guys when they're able to come on. So that's tomorrow. So jump on over to Pilled. Otherwise, have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll catch up with you guys on tomorrow's show.